Hi, I'm Jim DeCola, Master Luthier for Gibson Guitars. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to properly intonate your guitar. Intonation refers to the adjustment of the actual vibrating length of the string on your guitar. Your scale starts at the nut and ends at the bridge. And if you've ever wondered why your bridge is angled, that's to compensate for the fact that your strings graduate in thickness. So your high E string is the thinnest, your low E is the thickest. So to compensate for that, to make sure that the intonation is correct, the bridges are angled to add that compensation factor into the scale. In addition to that, each individual saddle for each string is adjustable to maximize the accuracy. So there's no such thing as absolute perfect intonation, but we can adjust it to maximize its accuracy. There's a lot of variables that come into play. Like I said, the string gauge variations, the natural wear of the string as you play, your personal touch. Not everybody presses the string perfectly down. There's a slight amount of bending, and especially, that comes into play when you're playing chords, especially higher up on the neck. So the ability to adjust that intonation will make your instrument play in tune a lot more accurately all throughout the fingerboard. So the first thing we'll do is hit an open note and compare it to the 12th fret fretted note. And that's how the intonation is basically adjusted, by comparing those two pitches. You can use an open note and compare it to the fretted at the 12th fret because they're both the same note, just an octave apart. Or you can use a harmonic. A lot of players prefer the harmonic, which is a chime-like effect produced by lightly touching the string and plucking it. That's a nodal point in the string. So what happens is, as the string is vibrated, and it vibrates like that, where the waves cross is a node. So that's the first partial and produces that chime. That's also a node. So here's an E, here's an E, and here's an E. So we're going to be comparing those. So we'll first get that 12th fret harmonic on the low E string in tune using the tuning machine. Then we'll compare to the fretted note. You can see the fretted note on the tuner is moving to the right. When it moves to the right, it means it's sharp. That means we need to increase the scale length of the string. A little tip, as you're facing your tuner, which most people do when they're tuning their guitar, if the tuner moves to the right, that's the direction you move the saddle on a right-handed guitar. Left-handed, it will be backwards, but right-handed guitar, if you're facing the tuner, move it to the right. If it's moving to the left, you need to move your saddle to the left. So move your saddle the direction of the tuner. So in this case, we'll make it longer. So again, harmonic versus the fretted, and I'll increase it about 2 turns. And you may have to do this 2, 3, or more times depending on how far out it is. And as you tune it, I'll kind of tug on the string just to make sure there's no slack. It's still has a little tendency, we're very close. Yeah, still a little sharp, so I'll move that back about a turn. And I'll do it 3 or 4 times because, like I said, your touch can vary. So if you do it 3, 4, 5 times, you'll get a good average on how you're fretting it. If you're a little bit on the sloppy side, you could actually put a bend in it, like I am, and get a false reading. You can't bend flat. So always look for the flattest response on that fretted note. So like I said, 3 or 4 times, going for the flattest reading on average, and then you're in. And it's also a good idea too to listen. It's nice if you can have your amp going and listen to the note. Some people will do that to rough it in. The human ear really isn't as accurate as an electronic tuner, but it sure helps, and it also trains your ear. So by listening to that, you're getting good ear training. So repeat that process with all the strings. Now we'll go to the A. We'll repeat that same process. Now in this case, it's flat. It has a tendency to move to the left. So I'll move it about one full turn. And we're good there. We'll see the D. D is a little bit flat. I'm moving that about two full turns. Still a little flat. Another 2 turns. That looks good. G looks on. B is a little sharp. That looks good. And that looks good. So now all the strings have accurate intonation as much as humanly possible. Like I said, it's a physical impossibility because there's so many variables in a guitar that perfect intonation is just not a possibility. But that's as accurate as we can get it. You'll find when you play chords up the neck, especially past the 12th fret, it'll be in tune a lot more, be a lot more accurate. And when it's properly adjusted, it'll actually make playing easier, in the simple reason that if your intonation is out and you're playing, subconsciously you'll hear that and you'll kind of be bending your notes and trying to get them in pitch. When it's in tune perfectly like that, it'll be a lot easier. You won't have to fight the guitar. So it makes it a lot easier to play. And another thing to remember, intonation is always the last adjustment you want to do to your guitar, because everything else can affect the intonation. So you want to make sure you have fresh strings. Old strings will give you false readings because they get worn and they're not accurate anymore. You want to make sure that your neck is properly adjusted, your action is properly adjusted, and even your pickups can affect intonation. If your pickups are adjusted way too high, sometimes those magnets can pull on the strings and cause, intonation problems. So once all your previous adjustments are done, intonation is the final frontier in getting your guitar to play as you need it to play. Thanks for watching, and check out the next episode of Gibson's Guide to Guitar Setup and Maintenance.